I was out of commission with the fever and a cold, but I'm now back in effect. You can't keep a great man down like me. And I'm back to give you the greatest boxing content ever. And I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not gonna hold anything back. I'm gonna talk about this disgusting fighter, Angelino Cordova. Yanquier Rivera beat him. It was a controversial draw.
Punch that.
Need some more categories in this one.
Cordova threw 609 headbutts. No, 609 thrown punches. Only separated by 2 punches, but I believe it was Rivera landed the cleaner, harder shots. 2 10-8 rounds you got to factor in as well. One on my scorecard. Let's see what these judges got.
Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. I'm back. Well, we all know what happened. I don't want to get any copyrights or anything like that, so I'm just gonna give it to you raw, the way I know how. I'm not gonna go and lie and say and sugarcoat anything. I know I interviewed Yanquier Rivera, but I know what I saw. And anybody with 2 eyes that's not blind knows that this guy, Angelino Cordova, does not know how to fight. He knows how to use his head. He don't know how to throw punches. They say in Venezuela, he's been shot at and he's been in a wheelchair. Well, obviously, he looked like a fighter that don't know how to throw punches. They just knows how to throw headbutts. Because obviously, he's fighting like a fighter that was in a wheelchair that don't know how to throw punches anymore because he's unable to throw punches because he was in a wheelchair. So he's fighting like a fighter that's handicapped, that can't throw combinations. He has to use his head, and he threw headbutts at Yanquier Rivera. That's what I saw. I didn't see a fighter that was technically sound, that's a professional boxer. He should be banned from boxing. It's an embarrassment for his country, Venezuela. Like, he didn't win that fight. If you look at the fight, in round 2, he was stunned by Yanquier Rivera a few times, and then every time the Yanquier Rivera stunned Angelino Cordova, what did Angelino Cordova do? He went inside with his head, and he was holding, and he makes sure that he doesn't get knocked out or knocked down. Because every time that Yanquier Rivera landed on him in the second round, close to the end of the second round, he almost knocked him down. But the reason why he didn't knock him down is because Angelino Cordova was holding him, and he kept going in with his head, very clumsy, and trying to like win a fight by being crazy and fighting illegal, like with headbutts. And then in the 4th round, Yanquier Rivera also tagged him up again with jabs and hooks, and I believe he had him stunned again in the fight. And since he didn't want to get knocked down, he said, "Let me fight him dirty. Let me hold on to him. Let me hold on to him so the referee won't see that he's knocking me down." Because he was holding on to Yanquier Rivera when Yanquier Rivera stunned him in the 4th round and the 2nd, and he kept coming in with his head. I feel like a fighter like Angelino Cordova, he was 19-0 with 1 draw and 12 KOs. I don't know how the hell he got 19 wins without any controversies. He must have freaking got away with it in somewhere else. They let him get away with illegal tactics like that. But for some reason, maybe he fought a lot of tomato cans in the beginning, because I know when he fought Julio Cesar Martinez, I know he was using illegal substances. He was fighting him dirty too. And eventually they turned around the decision to a no contest because he was using illegal substances, Julio Cesar Martinez. But I saw Julio Cesar Martinez beating Angelino Cordova. I hate to say his name because his name reminds me of a criminal that shouldn't be boxing. It's illegal what he did. In this whole fight, you saw what the commentator said. He threw 608 headbutts. He's being funny and sarcastic, but at the same time, he was being truthful because in the fight, he was throwing a lot of illegal punches. And then I feel like this guy was doing everything possible to cheat, to win the fight at any cost, any way that he could win the fight. He knew he was fighting dirty. I don't know why he looked surprised when they announced a draw when he knew he was fighting dirty. Angelinocordova knew he was fighting dirty, and even in the interview he said, "Oh, I won the fight. But that's the decision of the referee. We got to respect the referee's decision." And then Salas and their people behind the scenes right after the fight was saying, "Oh, we're fighting in Orlando. It's practically his country in Puerto Rico. That's why they didn't get allowed to win the fight. But if it was somebody else, they were saying that if the roles were reversed and Angelinocordova was Puerto Rican, they would have gave him the fight, something like that." But I feel like they know. How could they not know that they're dirty fighters? How could they not know that? How could Angelinocordova say that with a straight face, that he won the fight, but he would like to get a rematch and prove that he won? And I'm saying, if you look at the fight at its entirety, you know that legally, and I'm being nice, I would say Angelinocordova won 2 rounds. 2 rounds. Because everything else he did was ineffective. The only thing that was effective was his headbutts. And he gave Yanquiel Rivera a gash under his left eye. A big one. It was a headbutt. It wasn't it wasn't a punch. It was a headbutt. And you could see this fighter, in his history of boxing, Angelinocordova, he's known for rabbit punching fighters in many other fights. Like, he had a history of that. So this fight right here, it disappointed me because I saw Yanquiel Rivera winning 8 rounds or 9 rounds. I saw him winning 9 rounds. I gave him 9 rounds. And the judges gave it a draw, but the commentators saw a clear winner, a clear victory winner in Yanquiel Rivera. They gave him 7 rounds to 4. But I think they were being nice because, Angelinocordova, maybe in the 11th and 9th round, he did some things, but he was fighting dirty to actually land shots. Because if you look at the fight in the beginning, Yanquiel Rivera was making him miss, making him pay, and he's a sloppy fighter. Angelinocordova is the sloppiest and the dirtiest fighter in the world, man. I think he should be banned from boxing, and he's an embarrassment to Venezuela. I don't know how the hell does he believe that he could stand with dignity and say, "Oh, he won that fight," and feel dignified in that performance, that lack of performance, terrible performance that he displayed, illegal tactics with headbutts against Yanquiel Rivera. I feel like that was a disgrace, despicable outing from Angelinocordova. It was a despicable outing. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Of course I can. Programmer FG #1 says, "Can you do 20 push-ups?" I can, but I don't need to prove that to you. I can do more than 20 and legitimate push-ups. But thanks for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to that channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Program FG #1 says, "Can I see?" I do not want to show you because right now I am focused and in control of my content or what I'm putting out. And I thank you for tuning in. But I'm not going to do something that is beyond my control right now because I feel like I don't need to let anybody dictate what I do, especially when I'm doing a live. But I appreciate you suggesting that, but I don't really need to do it right now. I'll do it when I'm done with this video because I do things according to what I want to do. So check this out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm better at boxing than you. Ha! Yeah, you wish. All right, yeah. Get your 15 seconds of fame. All right. Hola, yep, UNC. A lot of people tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. A lot of people want their 15 seconds of fame, saying these funny comments that they come out and try to troll me. But at the end of the day, I'm the one doing the content. If you want me to do 20 push-ups, do a video and asking me to do 20 push-ups. Do your own original video and suggest that, all right? Because once I get my back recovered from my accident, which I can't talk about, I'm going to be back in effect doing exercises. Real good exercise. And I probably look better than you, man. You over here just telling me to do 20 push-ups. Anyway, so at the end of the day, it takes courage to get up here. But I feel like he kept hitting behind the head. Yanquiel Rivera was getting hit behind the head constantly in round number 6 and round number 8 by Angelinocordova. And what did the referee do? He took away 4 points from him. He rightfully so. He did it justifiably. He did it. He had the right to take away points because this guy was constantly hitting Yanquiel Rivera behind the head. And that's not a dignified performance. And that is not a legitimate performance to say, hey, you know, this guy looked good. No, Yanquiel Rivera looked good. But it's hard to look good against a fighter like Angelinocordova, who fights dirty. He's a dirty, disgusting fighter. And I want to get Yanquiel Rivera on my channel and vent with him about what I feel his rival was against him, Angelinocordova. Yanquiel Rivera was very gentleman-like in the post-fight reaction. He was like saying that both of us came out healthy, and you know that none of us got hurt. You know, unfortunately, like the fight ended in a draw. You know, he said that I fight clean. So in other words, he was basically saying that Angelinocordova fights dirty, and he wanted to be nice. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But if I interview Yanquiel Rivera, I'll be the disrespectful one and say the truth about Angelinocordova, how dirty he is. I'll call it out for what it is. So I want to do another interview with Yanquiel Rivera and give my take on what I thought about Angelinocordova. You know, Yanquiel Rivera don't gotta say nothing bad. Like, I just told Yanquiel Rivera, hey man, let me say the truth and talk my talk about Angelinocordova, how dirty he is. I'll say it. I'll speak it. I'm not gonna hold back. But you know, if he doesn't want to say nothing bad about him because he's a gentleman, and I respect that. Yanquiel Rivera, you're a gentleman. But you know how dirty Angelinocordova is. You know how dirty he is. I want Angelinocordova to hear this. Angelinocordova, tú eres un boxeador, peleador sucio, asqueroso. Tú no debes de boxear, tú debes de ir preso por la manera que tú estabas peleando. Tú peleaste dándole por la nuca a Yanquiel Rivera, y puños ilegales. Tú no estabas peleando una pelea sana, tú estabas peleando una pelea sucia. Tú no ganaste esa pelea. Yo le di 9 rounds a Yanquiel Rivera y te di a ti 2 rounds o 3 rounds. Eso es todo. Pero es porque tú estabas peleando sucio, por eso es que tú pudiste colocar algunos golpes, porque estabas usando tu cabeza la mayoría de las veces. So basically what I said is that the majority of the times, the only reason why I gave 3 rounds out of 12 to Angelinocordova is because he was fighting dirty enough to land headbutts and then land his punches right after he landed a headbutt. But he wasn't, that's the only way that he could actually land any combinations, by fighting dirty with Yanquiel Rivera. Yanquiel Rivera was schooling him, and he was using angles, and he made him miss a lot in the beginning. But then, you know, after a while, he kept fighting like awkward and dirty and throwing like landing headshots, like going in with his head and holding, and every time he got stunned by Yanquiel Rivera, he would hold and pull him down. There was many times in round 2 and round 4, he was gonna get knocked down. He got stunned. Yanquiel Rivera stunned Angelinocordova in round 2 and round 4, and he was gonna knock him down in any of those rounds. But he kept holding so he doesn't go down. But you know, we know what time it is. People that watch boxing, we know what time it is. And then in the 8th round, the referee got upset at the corner of Angelinocordova, Salas, his trainer, and he said, if you keep it up, I'm going to take you out of here. I'm going to kick you out of the arena. That's basically what he was alluding to. So, you know, there's some, you know, Salas is a very, he has a vendetta against Puerto Ricans. You know, he was the trainer of Puello, and he was actually training Puello to beat Subriel Matias, but Matias beat him. So he wanted to get a victory over Puerto Ricans with Yanquiel Rivera, but he couldn't do it. Just because he got a draw, that doesn't mean that he got a consolation for a victory, because at the end of the day, his fight is dirty. So you didn't beat a Puerto Rican yet. Salas, you wish. Hey, NAVVGYG number 3, do the dance with the pants. I'm not your entertainer, man. I'm not your entertainer, man. I'm not gonna do the dance for you. You know, if you tune in a little bit more and then we have a good friendship and it's genuine, I might do that dance for you. But I'm not just gonna give you the benefit of the doubt if you just tuned in. You gotta keep tuning in, and maybe if you come respectfully and we can actually have a dialogue where we're considered like family because you're constantly on my channel and you subscribe to the channel, then we could actually take that suggestion serious about me doing the dance with the pants. Because, you know, I don't mind dancing, but I'm not going to be clowned by nobody. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Yeah, man, I had to vent my frustration. I was sick for a little while. I had a fever and a cold. That's why I couldn't create any content, because I was really like out of commission, laying down, sweating my fever. And I'm back though. You can't keep a great man down. So yeah, Tony Oso's back. Check out my music as well. Tony Also Knows Boxing has music as well. Mi Patria Linda, available on all major platforms. And check out all my albums. I got like 4 albums on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube. Check it out. I got hip hop and R&B and Latin, everything. Salsa, merengue, everything. I'm very versatile. So now I want to talk about Subriel Matias. You know, right now it seems like they haven't confirmed anything. I'm going to give you the latest. Dalton Smith said in an interview that nothing has been confirmed as far as Subriel Matias. And then they said, what do you think is taking Subriel Matias so long? And he said it's because probably of contracts, like things need to be signed right. And he said, I can't really demand much, but if I win this fight, you know, I'm going to be able to get the bigger fights, and I'm confident that I could beat Subriel Matias. That's what he said. And he basically said that that he definitely knows that the fight is more than likely to be on November 22nd, but he says he doesn't know for sure. They haven't confirmed anything, and the reason why it's taking long is because Subriel Matias, the contract is taking a while, because Subriel Matias more than likely wants to get paid more money, especially if he's fighting in Saudi Arabia. So he has the right to do that. He's the champion, and he said that he feels like he's not nervous, that he's ready for this moment, and that this is this moment for him to fight those guys like Subriel Matias or Puello. He says that they're both great fighters, but he believes that he's gonna show what he's made of, and that he's gonna shine on that day. And Dalton Smith said that, and that he's thinking that the negotiations are taking long because of the contract, because Subriel Matias most likely wants to get paid more money because he's fighting overseas in Saudi Arabia, in which I don't knock that he's supposed to demand that. He is the champion. But you know what I noticed? That if Dalton Smith wasn't backed by anybody like Eddie Hearns, the number one contender nowadays gets overlooked, and they could circumvent it. If you have a big promoter that wants to fight bigger fighters, the bigger fish, and the other championship fights, the bigger money making fights that the fans want to see, you could circumvent fighters like Dalton Smith if Dalton Smith wasn't with Eddie Hearns. But since Dalton Smith is with Eddie Hearns, they got people backing him up. That's the only reason why Subriel Matias is forced to fight the number one contender in Dalton Smith. But if Dalton Smith wasn't aligned with anybody with a big company like Matchroom, like Eddie Hearns behind him, Dalton Smith wouldn't even get the opportunity to fight Subriel Matias. That's the political world of boxing. Those are the politics of boxing. If he was actually a fighter that don't have a big promoter behind him, a great backing like Eddie Hearns behind Dalton Smith would be irrelevant. They would circumvent, they would pay him out. They would say they would pay him step aside money so Subriel Matias could get the bigger fight. But, look at it like this too. Subriel Matias' promotion is from Puerto Rico, Fresh Boxing Production. So Durango is the CEO of that company, and they do get great fights for Subriel Matias, but they don't have the leverage that a Matchroom has. But Turkey Al-Sheikh does like the way Subriel Matias fights, and I believe that Eddie Hearns has something cooked up with Dalton Smith. So he wants Dalton Smith to win against Subriel Matias. I don't know if there's some politics behind it, but I don't trust Eddie Hearns, and I feel like Subriel Matias does have the style It's exciting. Fought Turkey Al Sheikh, but it's not his fighter. But I believe that Subriel Matias has proven that he has a lot of fans when he actually fought Puello and the people that showed up for him to support him. And then even after during the Xander Zayas fight, he was signing autographs in Madison Square Garden, and there was a lot of people lined up to get autographs from Subriel Matias. So he proved his value and his commodity status with different promotions that reached out and offered him different deals. So he has options now. So I feel like it's not like when he fought Liam Pato, he didn't have the options that he has now. He didn't have the leverage that he has now. So I believe that Subriel Matias is in a good position, but he has to be careful with Dalton Smith, the politics behind it, and he has to make sure it doesn't go to the judges because you don't know what kind of sneaky things are happening behind the scenes. But it seems like the fight might either wind up in Madison Square Garden or Saudi Arabia, depending on how deals work out as far as how much they're going to pay Subriel Matias if he fights out there, if they work it out for him where he fights in Saudi Arabia, if they're going to accommodate him and get paid more because he's fighting Saudi Arabia. You know, Turkey Al Sheikh will make anything happen. But I don't know if they might make it in New York because it's not really official yet. They didn't even announce Subriel Matias' name when they announced the fight of November 22nd with Benavidez. They only mentioned Eddie Bam Bam Rios, the unification fight that he's going to have. They mentioned David Benavidez, but they did not mention the Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matias. So, you know, it might happen on November 22nd, but it also might take place maybe in December in Madison Square Garden because the deal might not be what Subriel Matias wants, I guess. So, you know, that's what I got right now. But I feel like that's going to be a great boxing event with Devin Haney as well, with Brian Norman, November 22nd. A unification fight with Eddie Bam Bam Rios, David Benavidez, and then Subriel Matias added to it. That would be good. But either way, it's still a good fight without Subriel Matias and Dalton Smith. But I feel like it makes it a little bit better if you add Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matias. But who the hell is Dalton Smith? Dalton Smith, to me, I feel like it was disrespectful for him to cut off Subriel Matias in the post-fight interview after he beat Puello. That was his moment. So I feel like since he has the right promoter, Eddie Hearns, behind him, that's the only reason why people are paying attention to Dalton Smith. If it wasn't for his promotional backing, a big promotion like Eddie Hearns, they could have gave him money, step aside money. Subriel Matias people, if they had a big promoter too, like they would be able to leverage that and get a Pitbull Cruz fight because that's, you know, more people want to see Pitbull Cruz versus Subriel Matias. Even though I believe Pitbull Cruz is in his last days, he didn't look so great in his last fight and his replacement fight that they had for Piero. And I feel like you know, he still sells, you know, because he's exciting and he's a brawler. But I feel like that right there, it still sells. If you put Pitbull Cruz versus Subriel Matias, is a fight that will still sell. But I think Pitbull Cruz is in his last days right now. But it's still a fight that more people want than Dalton Smith. Nobody really knew about Dalton Smith until he just snuck up in the post-fight interview of Subriel Matias because he has the financial backing of a big promoter like Eddie Hearns. But if he didn't have that guy, they could have circumvented him and paid him off step aside money, and Subriel Matias would get the bigger fights. But he don't have that great promotion like a Matchroom, like the Zone. Not the Zone. That's a network. Like he don't have like a big huge promotion, but he's getting the promotion that he deserves based on Turkey Al Sheikh giving him exposure. But with the promotion that he has, which is a big promotion in Puerto Rico, but it's not a universal international promotion. Like Fresh Boxing Promotion is a Puerto Rican promotion, so they could kind of like exploit them. But since Subriel Matias already established more visibility, then he's able to get some flexibility in getting more money and possibly not so much shenanigans like before with Liam Pato because he has more leverage now. I don't know. I'm just hypothetically saying that. But subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. You know you can't keep a great man down. You can't keep a great man like me down. They wanted to stop me. The devil wanted to stop me. You know what? I was laying in bed for 2 days straight. And then I was sick for like a whole week. But I still had to work. I still had to make my money. But at the end of the day, I rise from the ashes, man. When you think I'm going to stop and you're going to suppress me, you just bless me. I just get blessed because I don't get stressed. Because I think outside of the box, and I'm always thinking, if I don't do something for a few days and I'm held back, I'm going to make up for those days that I was held back. Because Tony also does not give up. I do not hinder my growth. I don't let situations or tribulations hinder my growth. I allow them to make me greater and better. And then I could actually reach out to other people and inspire them and make them feel that nothing can stop them as well. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Yeah, Tony also, man. I don't want to, let me just say this. When I say something and when I do something, I do it with a purpose. And I do it with passion and intelligence and research. Because that's the only way that it's going to edify you and make you feel inspired so you could come back from whatever was trying to hold you back. Tony also don't want nobody to feel held back. Tony also wants anybody that's going through a tribulation or a situation to not feel held back because you could always be on track. You could always put yourself back in the forefront and make yourself bigger and greater and because there's people that want to see you fail. But you know what? Those are the people that make you even better. But you don't even need to think about them because those people think about you because they don't have that inspiration that you have. But you have the inspiration, you have the foundation already within you. So it doesn't matter what negative people say or try to do to hold you back because you're focused on doing great things, your legacy, and inspiring the world to be better and the people around you to be better. So those people wonder, how does he have so much ambition and desire to win? And I'm always feeling low and down because you're always focusing on bringing other people down. You don't have no foundation. I got a foundation. I give great energy because I have that within me. And I don't let situations hold me back. They allow me to be greater. You know what I mean? No, these are old comments, sweetie. All right. Yeah, so subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I just had to let all these things out. I couldn't keep it inside. But you know what? I'm trying to get Rivera on my channel again because I want to vent with him about the performance with Angelinocordova. He did a great job, by the way. But, he couldn't look the way he wanted to look against a dirty, despicable, illegal fighter like Angelinocordova. So, yeah, that's all I got for now. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Peace. Don't be afraid to subscribe to that channel. If you're afraid, you ain't built for this. You ain't built for this life. Subscribe to the channel only if you're brave and you love the realness and you love knowledge and you love to be liberated with the truth. That's the only way you're going to live life beautifully like me. Tony also knows boxing.